More or less. Actually, below that is they have to live in the real world. Most people walk around in a somnambulant daze. They are actually zombies. They're like flotsam and jetsam on the surface of the ocean, being tossed around. They kind of go with the flow. Salesmen can't live in a world where they think it ought to be a certain way or should be a certain way. Salesmen have to live in a world that operates off of reality. You can't sell through fantasy, all right? So learning how to sell will make you better in all ways. Gary Halbert had a great saying, Joe, I think I got this right. There's no problem in the world that a damn good sales letter can't solve. Gary found true love, and so did I through selling myself. If anybody here married? If you're married, you sold yourself to your spouse. If you ever got a job, you sold yourself to an employer. If you've ever tried to sell something successfully online, even if you don't consider yourself a salesman, you woke up your inner salesman at least for enough time to get that job done. What I am going to try to tell you to do is to get that bad boy, that inner salesman who is mostly asleep in your life, and in most people's lives is actually comatose, and put him to work for you as much as possible. All right. I'm going to give you the 3 simple secrets of creating wealth and happiness. It's just 3 very simple things. They may seem obvious to you. I will tell you that this is why people pay me $2,500 for an hour on the phone. And this is pretty much basically what I do. So I want you to write this stuff down. I spent most of my career as a freelance writer. Freelance writers, how many people have hired a freelance writer in their life? Okay, almost everybody. Freelance writers never come into a happy situation. There is some level of trauma there. Either sales aren't happening, the product sucks, or it's a new venture and there's all these things coming on. If everything was happy, the freelancer would not be there. That's why freelancers get a lot of money. They are problem solvers. They come in, they figure out things very quickly. And I'm going to show you how I break down problems and solve them, which is basically what I do as a salesman. And a freelancer is merely doing what Claude Hopkins called salesmanship in print. First of all, anybody mad at me? What? Just a couple of people. Okay, Buck, yeah, okay. Usually there's a couple of people that are mad at me. I got called an asshole right before I came on stage. That was pretty refreshing. Actually, I said something pretty Okay, the first secret to solve anything is the two-list tactic. The two-list tactic is very simple. Take any problem you have in business, in life, in love, and make 2 lists. And on one side, put down what you want to happen, and on the other side, write down everything you don't want to happen. Be as specific as possible, and then, as you proceed from there, try as best you can to do the things you want to do, and to not do the things you don't want to do. Seems pretty simple, right? 90% of the entrepreneurs out there fuck this up. That's one of the first time I swore. But now, breaking down goals. This is what I often do in consultations. It's like people come to me and they go, I got this problem, I got this problem, I got this problem. And I say, well, okay, just calm down. Start breaking down the problem. Now, as a freelancer, I will walk into a business and it will be total chaos. And this is the beginning of starting to take chaos and breaking it down into palatable little digestible chunks of information, or breaking down what is a situation that seems incomprehensible and making it comprehensible. So this is pretty basic. This is easy to see if you're starting out a business. What do you want to do? You want to make a lot of money, right? You don't want to go to jail. Okay. What's the fastest way to make a lot of money in a very short period of time? Right? Rob a bank. Yes. Right above rob a bank is to sell bad ingestible diet products. You will also go to jail. deservedly so. In between here, there will be a few things that you don't want to do while you're getting a business together or while you're creating product that you need to do for a short period of time so you can get to the point that you're not doing it anymore. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So if you're on your own, you're a one-man band, you may have to do a lot of the writing, you may have to do some of the programming yourself, you may have to do some things that you don't want to do, and eventually you'll get to the point that you make money, so you won't make a lot of money, and that money then starts to do buy the people to do the things that you don't want to do. Okay? Does anybody think this is too simple for their own situation? Has anybody used this in their life?
Yes.
Who used this? And did it work?
Yeah, I use something like that when I break up with a boyfriend.
Ah! She uses something like this It's up to a certain point where there's a balance going on. There's enough stuff you like and enough stuff you don't like, and then suddenly it just tips one way or the other, right? Are you married right now?
Boyfriend though.
How far down the line is he? Like, what, you got a month left? It's funny because I was going to say this works with your love life. People don't understand that. It works with business. It works with, you want to buy a car, you want to buy a new house, you want to change your life. You start breaking this stuff down. You know, if you just say, I want a new house, that you can't just go out to a real estate agent and say, I want a new house. He's going to start asking you things to start being specific. And that's when you start confronting the reality of the situation. So getting to the real nature of things is where problems get solved. Okay, that was secret number one, which basically get this list going. Okay? Any questions about that right now? Good. Secret number two, and people have touched on this quite a bit today. Become an expert as quickly as possible in the things that you want to do. Become an expert as quickly as possible in the things you don't want to do also. When I talk about becoming an expert, I don't mean spending 10 years and 10,000 hours trying to figure it out. My big breakthrough as a freelancer, and again, freelancers often get paid more than the guy who owns the company for a short period of time. I get 30 grand to write a single ad, plus points. Okay? And the reason that I become so valuable, that a good freelancer becomes so valuable, is that you're also part marketing consultant, you're part babysitter, and you're part visionary. You help the person who is blocked inside of that box. How many people have the constraints of being pretty much on your own and feeling like you are in an echo chamber? Yes, a lot of people. And that's why bringing somebody in from the outside, whether it's a consultant, freelancers, good freelancers make the best consultants because it's where the rubber meets the road, where the actual writing gets done, but before they get there, they have to figure out they have to solve all the problems before they get there. So when my big breakthrough as a freelancer came almost immediately after I started the gig. By the way, there were no freelancers that I knew of back when I started. There were no books. This is back in the early 80s. Claude Hopkins was out of print. Nobody had ever heard of Gary Halbert or Jay Abraham. Joe Sugarman was on the scene, but he was the only one. You were given the only marketing seminars at the time then, weren't you? $800 to come to your house in Chicago for a weekend? $2,000, which was a fortune back then. But other than that, there was nothing. So I had to make up how to be a freelancer. All I knew was the word. I knew the concept. I would learn how to write copy and do advertising and become this guy who other people hired to come in and do the job that they couldn't do. So I figured one of the things that I needed to do before I went after the agencies in Los Angeles was to get hip to the game. So what I did is I took a speed reading course. Anybody here taken Evelyn Woods or any of the attendant things? Now, I am not a speed reader, but I took the course and I learned how to do the basic tactic, and the basic tactic is really great. You go into a library. You guys know what libraries are. The younger guys don't. Or go into Barnes & Noble and do this until you get thrown out. But basically, I went into the library and I read everything in the Dewey Decimal System. That's another thing you guys don't know about. The Dewey Decimal System from, I think, 600 to 900. That included marketing, sales, writing, advertising, just everything within that business category you can think. And I would just go into the Torrance Municipal Library, grab stacks of books, bring them over to the table and just dump them and start going through them. And the speed reading tactic that works the best is you start really fast reading titles, you read indexes, you read the table of contents, you read all the captions and all the photos, and you go through each page manually, but as fast as you can, looking for general things. You're not trying to read the first couple of books, and you put that book aside, you don't know what to do with it. Second book, you do this. By the time you're in your third book in the same subject, you're starting to recognize names, starting to recognize a few terms here and there, and by the time you're through about 5 books, you can start taking half of those books and throwing them in the trash, or putting them back into the library stacks, because they're no good. So you want to try to identify those few things, and hopefully, if you're lucky, you'll find one book. I actually experimented with this with Italian Futurism, which was the Art Deco movement that led to Mussolini's rise to power in World War II. And I found that I was lucky, you know about Futurism?
No, it's just...
Yeah, it is funny. There turned to be one book that was really good. But if I hadn't grabbed that book by accident, because there were 15 other books on it, I would have read a bunch of crap first, okay? So you want to get as much as you can. What you're doing is just doing information. Now there's a secret to reading books that most people don't know, especially if you're in business. And I will give you this secret, and I give you official permission now to use this. When you are reading a book, at any time, if that book becomes boring, if you realize the author is a freaking idiot, or if it becomes irrelevant to what you want, I give you permission to slam it shut, bounce it off the 2 walls into the trash, and you're done. How many people can't put a book aside if they've opened and they start reading it? A big chunk. How many people have books on the nightstand next to their bed they opened up last year and they just can't finish? Right. I give you permission to throw that book away.
We use iPads today and Kindles.
Kindles. It's hard to throw a Kindle, but they bounce really well off the wall. Kindle doesn't have a delete button, does it?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Sure. Anyway, point is, I have a Kindle, I have an iPad. I'm hip as far as tech goes. I have a new iPhone and all of that. But interestingly enough, I have recently started hauling real books around with me again. I've got Freakonomics, is the third or second one, the newest one out, and a novel. I started reading novels again. Anyway. That's beside the point. When you start doing this, when you want to become an expert, what I did is, before I went to my first agency to tell them, I'm a freelancer and you can hire me if you have jobs where you can pay me to do the writing that that you need done. I went in and read everything I could on sales, advertising, marketing, like that. And I did this because I was a young guy